What's up guys, it's Trevor with Embers Fireplaces. Let me tell you, it's tough getting all 5 of these stoves together. This is the 2020 lineup for Vermont Castings. We got all 5 models, all 5 colors. Let's go. Okay, so here's the lineup for 2020. If you guys are familiar with wood stoves, wood burning stoves at all, you know that in May of this year, new emission standards went into effect, and the emission standard was so low, it disrupted the entire wood stove market. I know you guys out there, you're following the wood stove market like crazy. You know, it's right up there with the regular news. You want to know what's going on in the wood market industry. Now, not that interesting, but for those of you that are interested in the wood stove, it was kind of a big deal. And so a lot of manufacturers had to R&D redesign their products to try to pass that lower emission standards, which ultimately allows for cleaner burning products. So they had to make some changes to their current lineup. They also came out with a new model, the Dauntless, which is right here. We'll include a link for that specific video if you want to see a specific video on the new model. We'll give you a quick run through of all the models, tell you what we like, what we don't like about them. So let's start with the Aspen here. So the Aspen is the most different out of the 5, the most radically different. So it has a totally different design compared to the other 4. The other 4 have a very, very similar design. So let's talk about it. You can see it's the smallest, but it's also the narrowest, or the deepest, I should say this way. So you're gonna load your wood long ways. The one thing with this guy is it comes in only the classic black. So this is just your classic standard black cast iron look. And then, like I said, you're gonna load your wood long ways here. Give you a look inside. Can you get a close-up shot inside there? Nothing really to look at. You can see you got your insulation blanket up here. That's gonna allow for reburns and longer burn times. Door handle hinge right here. So you can see this baby's just gonna lock you in, get you nice and airtight. Your little baby ash lamp. It's a pretty cute little stove. Pretty cute, pretty cute. So anyways, what I did is got a log, because the amount of square footage that you're gonna heat is important. So obviously this unit's designed for small install spaces, a place where you don't have a lot of room for a wood stove. It will heat up to 1,200 square feet, but sometimes what's more important than room size is how big of a log you can fit in your wood stove. So you may have already a bunch of cords of wood at home, and it's cut to a certain length. So you wanna make sure that they're gonna fit within the stove. So this is a pretty standard size, 16-inch log. So let's see from a practicality standpoint if this is gonna fit. So you're gonna load your wood long ways. Oh yeah, we got plenty of room to spare. So that's what's nice about this, is even though it's small and petite, it holds a 16-inch log pretty easily, which is nice. So that sort of front to back design is pretty handy. Does come only in black. And then this is kind of cool. This top plate here, if you look at this, you can get a ceramic plate that sits on top of this for a cooktop, which is kind of neat. And then it does have its own thermostatic air control, so you don't have to mess with the air control at all. You basically are gonna wanna heat up your stove with the door open, then like this, then fully close it. The stove will take care of the rest. So pretty simple and easy to use. Let's move on to the Intrepid. So here's the Intrepid. So again, we go up in size as far as the amount of square footage that we can heat. So this will do up to 1,800 square feet. The Intrepid is also very, very popular for small install settings. So you can see it's not a whole lot bigger than the Aspen, but instead of that front to back design, we sort of have a left to right design and just a different aesthetic look. When we go to the Intrepid, from here on up, you can order the warming shelves as an accessory that we have here. And then also from the Intrepid on up, you can do the full color range. So this is the Mojelica Brown, pretty popular color. Again, it's a nice porcelain finish. What I like about it is you can see like fingerprints and stuff on it here. When you have this smooth finish versus the rough cast iron, it cleans really easy. The downside is it can chip a little more easy too though. So the features of these stoves are several. The most popular being, you can see we have them lifted up here, is the top load feature. So Vermont Castings is one of the only stoves I've seen that allows for a top load feature, which is really handy, so you don't have to get down all the time when you're loading your wood. Other thing is the flue collar is reversible, so if you want to flip this backwards and like let's say you're putting it out in front of an old fireplace, you need to go out or horizontal and then up a chimney, you can do that, and it's so short, it's pretty conducive for an install like that. Now, as far as the technology in here, it's using a flex burn technology. What does that mean? Well, catalytic combustor is not standard. You can see over here, check this out. Here is our bypass. So we're gonna open and close it. So what that bypass does is if you choose to purchase the catalytic feature, you put that in there, it's gonna allow for more efficiency. Now this stove is so efficient, it doesn't need it standard, but if you wanted even longer burn times and more efficiency, you could get the catalytic upgrade. There's a lot of stigma out there on catalytic versus non-catalytic. I'll include a link if you want to know the differences between the two. People think that they're unreliable, you know, they don't last, things like that. And that is true in the sense if you don't know how to use them. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're burning a lot of trash, glossy newspaper, pallet wood, if you're not burning good, seasoned, dried hardwood, your catalytic will fail because it's gonna gunk up, they're hard to clean, you're gonna scrape off all the precious metals on there, so they're not gonna work quite as good as some other features. So that's sort of the little spiel on catalytic combustors, whether you should or shouldn't have one. It is an option on here, that's why it's called the Flex Burn. It's not required, but you can order one if you want. Because it's already designed for it, I figure why the heck not? You might as well get one and try it, get the longer burn times out of it, have it be more efficient. All right, and then a cool little feature here, you can see this stove, come in here Tate so we can show you. I mean, it is solid cast. You got these cast iron andirons, and then what's pretty slick here is you have a cast iron grate with air slots in it. So that's gonna help with airflow, a couple things, help with airflow, but then down below, that's where our ash is gonna drop out of. So, got this cute little ash drawer, little baby ash drawer. Kind of nice. Oh, pinch my finger. Gotta be careful. And then you use this little handle to open and close the doors. So you can close the doors like that. So now, let's do the test. 16-inch log. You don't have to load it like that. But if this was hot, it'd be kind of tough. But it technically fits in here. 16-inch log. Come look at that, Tate. So you can get a 16-inch log in here. You just have to be a little careful with how you're dropping it in. Let's try out through the front door. We tried the back door. Let's try the front door. All right, let's see if it fits. Again, you can do it, but when this thing's ripping, blazing hot, you have to have yourself a good pair of heat gloves. So technically fits a 16-inch log, although not the best for it. So also too, if you wanted to get these to fit in easier, you could just pop these andirons out. Although I suppose when it's in there, they do kind of keep your wood from falling forward, which is kind of nice. Stuck. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the Dauntless. So the Dauntless pretty much has the exact same design as the Intrepid. So I'm not gonna go over a ton of the features there, but your air control's in a different spot. So it's gonna be right here. I don't know if you can hear that clicking or not, but what that means is the air control is automatically controlled. So there's essentially a spring coil in there. And as that coil heats up and gets hot, it's gonna self-close that air shutter. So when that air shutter closes, it's gonna restrict your airflow. So what's really cool about that is you can sort of set it and forget it, and you don't have to worry about anything. Now this guy heats up to 2,000 square feet. So it'll heat 200 square feet more than the Intrepid, not substantially more, and you can see side by side, not a whole lot bigger. So I wouldn't say it's more cumbersome. Also too, this is the Twilight finish, so come get a close up of this, Tate. So the Twilight, depending on your eyesight, I kind of think it has more of like a bluish tint to it, but you can see it doesn't have the same shine as the porcelain, but it's also not a matte finish either. It's almost like an eggshell. So I do think it'll clean easier than the regular stainless, but it's not, if you're not into the super, super shiny look, the eggshell or the Twilight's a pretty cool finish. All right, let's do our log test here. 16-inch top load, piece of cake. Let's try from the front. Even with our andirons in. Yeah. So I'm gonna say, like, if you have the space for the Dauntless and all the wood that you cut, if the logs are a little bit larger, and you don't have to worry about re-splitting them for the Intrepid, you could get the Dauntless because, again, it's not much bigger of a footprint and you don't always have to build a huge fire. You don't have to have it ripping up to 2,000 square feet all the time. Okay, so this is the Encore. Now the Encore size historically has always been our best seller. I do think the Dauntless will eat into that a little bit now that they've released the Dauntless. I don't like the name. I don't like saying it, but that's besides the point. So this is the Encore, best seller, do 2,200 square feet. So you can kind of see we're going in 200 square foot increments here. You notice right away the red color, they call this Bordeaux Red. This is by far their most popular color. I would say we sell this and the classic black, the two most. But again, we're back to that porcelain finish. I personally really like the red. I think it's very unique to Vermont Castings. It's very attractive, very pretty. You can see the doors are a little more ornate too. So we got a little more webbing in the doors. But we have one big design change. Everything is the same here, except, come back here, Tate. So you can see when I'm activating this bypass, can you see that in there?
Yep.
So, but here's the difference. Let's go back to the front. Is our catalytic performance pack is not an accessory anymore, it is standard. And the reason it's standard is the stove's getting too large. So now it requires a catalytic combustor to meet 2020 regulations. So if you don't know what they look like, this is what it looks like, sort of that honeycomb style. So you can see what I mean. If you're burning a lot of junk, a lot of soot, a lot of creosote buildup, and you dunk all this up, it's not gonna work. So the important thing is that if you know how to use these and you're burning good, clean, solid wood, you're not gonna have any problems. Also, if you get your chimney swept annually, like everyone's supposed to, get all that creosote out of your pipe, just have your chimney sweep service this, because they know how to take care of these. So if you get yourself a good chimney sweep. So we'll put that back there. Okay, now let's do our log test. So shouldn't have any issues going forward here, because our Dauntless did it, no problem. 16-inch, no problem. Through the front door, no problem at all. So not gonna have any issues. Okay, so this bad boy is the Defiant, and it is in the biscuit color. I don't know if you noticed it in the biscuit sitting here. This thing is enormous. It's a monster. I think it's over 500 pounds. All I know is even with the appliance sliders on these things, you're not moving. Impossible. But I mean, this thing is an awesome, awesome machine. Solid, solid cast iron. It is stinking heavy. You should see this in red. When you get a red one of these, you notice it, it pops. 2,800 square feet, exact same design as the Encore. Catalytic combustor becomes standard at that point. You can see it here. This one's wrapped in the bubble wrap still. Standard feature. Let's see, not a whole lot different. Your bypass is over here. Well, I guess there is one thing significantly different, is the oval flue collar. So check this out. I'll show you the bypass on here because it's a little easier to see. So there's your damper bypass. And again, these all have their own air controls, so you don't have to do anything with the air control. You have an 8-inch oval flue collar. You can continue with 8-inch to round, or you can reduce down to 6-inch if you want. And again, you can flip this around and go out horizontally if you want. So a ton of flexibility here. And then on this guy, here's your air control. And then our ash drawer down here, we showed you on the Intrepid, but it was so small. We'll show you here. There's the big dog. And then this whole thing lifts out if you want it to. You gotta dispose of your ash safely. All right, let's do our log test here. Again, of course, we're not gonna have any issues at all. Fits right in without touching anything. Here. Oh yeah, really, really easy, even with your andirons. No problems at all. So this guy's 2,800 square feet. I think don't always pay attention to the square footage. What do I mean by that? For example, let's say you have a huge, huge great room and it's a luxury place and you're putting in a nice wood stove. Put in the Defiant. It's gonna look the coolest. And let's face it, depending where you live, over half the year it's not gonna be running anyways. So if you're gonna have this big thing in the middle of the room, it might as well be the Defiant because it just looks the best. It is awesome looking. So that's only, again, if you have a big old space, big vaulted ceilings, plenty of space for it. And then you just don't have to build as big of a fire always. That's what's nice about it. So here's another reason why I think the Defiant is so cool, not to mention like if it's in the biggest room, but their warming shelves, here's one of their warming shelves. So this is where it's gonna mount. Check this out, let's get a close up. Look what holds up your warming shelf. A dragon. How cool is that? You know what's cooler than having the biggest, baddest wood stove on the market? 4 dragons. 4 dragons are cooler. Definitely gonna increase your cool level. You have people over and they're like, whoa, are those dragons? That's what they're gonna, you know they're saying that. They're gonna notice your dragons. So you get 4 of them when you do the warming shelves. I'm just kind of joking around. But I personally think they're kind of cool. So definitely a cool feature when you go up to the Defiant. All right, so there's all your stoves for the 2020 lineup and beyond. I anticipate not many changes to this lineup for the considerable future. So if you're watching this video in 2022, it's probably gonna be relevant. So let's give it a quick run through. Aspen is the small stove, comes in black only. You have to load it front to back. Then we have the Intrepid, which is the smallest in the top load lineup. From here on out, the stoves are almost designed identical. They just go up in size with some minor differences. The Intrepid and Dauntless come in all the colors, and they are flex burn, which means the catalytic combustor is an option or an upgrade for these stoves. It is not required on these guys. The Encore and the Defiant, because they're so large, the catalytic combustor becomes essential at that point. So it's gonna come standard with them, which I think personally is better because why would you not want more efficiency? They're all thermostatic controls. They don't require power. Pretty cool. I really like what Vermont Castings has done with the lineup. I think they're already such a big player in the wood stove market. They're gonna be that much better because they've added a new product and enhanced an already great product. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget, if you're in the Denver metro area, come down to our showroom today, see these products in person for yourself. You can check out these products on our website at www.embersliving.com. As always, you guys have to subscribe. It helps out our channel a ton. We hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more.